All right, we're live. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to another live session with Kitchen 365. Appreciate everybody being here. Um, yeah, today the thing that we're gonna talk about is managing the customer journey for cabinet businesses. That's one of the things I briefly brought up last time we had a live session here. It seemed like there was some interest, so figured we would kind of return to that subject and expand a little bit. For those of you that haven't been here before, I'm Hayden. I am a digital marketing account manager here at Kitchen 365. So I lead a lot of the marketing initiatives for both us internally as well as our clients. So thank you for joining us. But let's dive right in here, guys. Let's get started. Perfect. Yeah, so like I said, talking through managing the customer journey for cabinet businesses and kind of what that I think a good place to start there is what that journey looks like, right? So one of the first thing we're gonna cover here is just understanding customer journey and what that looks like generally for cabinet businesses. Then going to dive into just a few ways to take advantage of that understanding of customer journey. And close to the end, we'll talk about how to manage all that, where to manage all that, how that kind of works. But yeah, let's just start by talking through customer journey in and of itself. So, I mean, the general concept here, the general idea is that um, you know, not all customers um, get in touch with you the same way, right? There are different sorts of flows um, where where those touch points might happen. So um, that's why I mentioned here, not every buyer, cabinet buyer, is going to follow a straight line. It's not the same path every time. But if you're going to understand the you know sort of most frequent lanes that your ideal customers kind of take, you can better take advantage of how you want to communicate to them and make it as effective as possible. So I just included a sort of brief example here of one way that a customer might find you. Researching cabinet businesses on an AI platform like ChatGPT. They might land on your website from there, could potentially order a sample from the site, then make a purchase of an entire kitchen, and so on and so forth, right? So what that kind of outlines is a few of the typical stages of what a customer journey is. So at a high level, usually what you're going to be looking at is what's called the awareness stage. Which means sort of you're like very top of funnel kind of perusing, right? So that's the research phase. They're sort of looking around. Maybe they see you on social media, or they click on one of your ads, or they find you on an AI platform, like I said, doing some research in that regard. But that's the very sort of first step. Just getting, I'm someone that's just starting to consider renovating my kitchen, and I want to kind of poke around and see what's out there. That's sort of that phase. Then we come to the interest phase. That is more so where actions begin to be taken, right? So they're showing some sort of interest, legitimate interest, for lack of a better term, in you, your services, your products, your business, right? So that's free kitchen design requests, the catalog downloads, the sample orders, all the things that I've kind of called out here. But it's taking that first step, taking that first action that indicates that they've moved on from just general research and they're starting to look at making actual decisions. Speaking of decisions, that's our next phase, right? So that's when they are sort of finalizing, for the most part, who they want to work with, or what products they're looking at, or what styles. They've got an idea of kind of what they're looking for, and now it's a matter of is the cost right? Are these for sure the people that I want to work with? Have I met them in person? Do they seem trustworthy to me? That's you're starting to get into that more like really personal piece. That's kind of the last few steps before the actual like closed deal, the purchase, and that's obviously the next part, right? So woohoo, you won. They chose you. Purchase and installation phase is sort of next. So that's your product delivery. All the logistics that come after. They've signed that quote. They signed that proposal, and they're engaging with a contractor. or obviously there are some cabinet businesses out there that do more showroom and installation or whatever, right? So that's that phase. That's post, signing that dotted line, kind of what happens next. And then something I think a lot of people sort of forget about, which even in my example I didn't really indicate, which for this reason to sort of showcase, but is the post sale, right? So a lot of the time people are like, yes, we won that deal, we made that money, new revenue, great, woohoo. But they forget about all of the opportunities and things that can happen after a sale that can really make an impact, such as getting feedback, just general feedback and survey data from existing customers on how their process actually was, to say like, where are our opportunities for improvement for our businesses. Um, there are reviews and referrals, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, uh, any new revenue is good new revenue, but like, why not try to leverage those deals, leverage that business into creating new business? So you do that through reviews by, if they've had a great experience, you've maybe gotten some feedback, some survey data from a customer saying, no, we really, just truly enjoyed working with you guys. You were great. Customer service was great. Price was great. Product was great. So on and so forth. Why would you not want that person speaking on your behalf and saying, you know, wow, what a great job these guys did? It's as easy as sending an automated email with a review link saying, thank you. We're so glad that you had a great experience with us. We'd love if you could leave us a review. Um, and then referrals, more importantly, right? That's the where we're leveraging into new business or additional business. Because at the end of the day, again, if someone had a great experience with you, why wouldn't they refer their friends who are also, um, getting a cabinet business done? And there are ways that you can sort of incentivize those referrals by having some sort of referral program, especially if you're a distributor. I think that's a great opportunity. Sorry for for referrals to happen, or rather, if you're a dealer, because again, if it's a really personal thing, you've just got this kitchen done, you really your team really nailed it, and this person's so happy. Why would they not refer their friends to have the same done? And then lastly, reorders, right? So in cases where it's more professionals that you're working with rather than homeowners directly, that's an opportunity to create repeat business as long as they've had a great experience. You can, there are ways that you can keep in touch with them, right? As part of that post sale stage, and say, hey, next time you got another project that comes up, I hope you'll think of us, sort of thing. And why wouldn't they if they've had a great experience with you? So that's sort of the super high level sort of typical stages that you're gonna be seeing with a customer journey in this space. But now let's talk a little bit about how to take advantage of some of those different stages and ways that we can sort of wiggle in there and make the most out of them. Part of that comes down to segmentation, right? So what I mean by segmentation is understanding who your audience is and how to connect with them differently, like what their journeys, how their journeys might um, diverge based on who they are and how they operate and what they do, right? The easiest example of that in this case is homeowners versus pros. So uh, again, just super high level. Let's call it a segmentation chart here, where we're talking about homeowners versus professionals. Let's talk about some of those major differences. First, let's look at what they need. Homeowners, they aren't going to um, know what they want all the time. They won't be as um, maybe concerned with cost as much as they are with how this room is going to look and feel for the rest of their lives. It's a much more like sort of personal decision. But they're looking for design inspiration. They're looking for tools that will help them get a better understanding of what this thing's going to look like every single day in their house. They want that physical, tangible touch to samples like that to get the look and feel for the product. They're going to need a lot of hand holding, right? So a lot more guidance from people that know what they're doing, because at the end of the day, most homeowners don't. That's not a knock on homeowners. That's just the world we live in, right? People that don't do this every single day aren't going to know all the ins and outs. Versus someone in the professional space, like your contractors and builders. At the end of the day, they're looking for efficiency, right? They want to get things done as quickly as possible, stay on our timeline. and stay within budget. They need product specs that are exact and accurate. Again, pricing is huge, obviously, and then yeah, just supporting them in any way possible, right? Through excuse me, whether you guys are referring business back and forth or um, like I said before, understanding of their timeline and making sure that they are getting things on schedule or even ahead of time if possible. Then another way that they might differ, right, is tone and approach. So these are really the things that you need to think about when you're considering how you're marketing to these folks or selling to these folks. So homeowners, they want education because again, they don't know what they're doing. They don't look at this stuff every day. They're looking for someone who's friendly because at the end of the day, no one wants to work with a jerk. And then they want things that are highly visual. It's a very personal, visual purchase for them. I say it all the time, but you have to consider they're looking at these kitchens every single day in their home. It's like the heart of your home. So you want to understand what that's going to look and feel like. And then for the professionals, they're more no nonsense, right? They want like the direct approach. Tell me what's up. Give me the quote. Give me the timeline. Keep it as condensed as possible and digestible for me. And then if there are any issues that come up, let's let's get them resolved, right? Like so, it's a lot more bang 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 as opposed to a more sort of fluid experience. And sort of ginger experience, let's put it for those homeowners. But yeah, just at a super high level, that's the sort of quote unquote segmentation I'm talking about. It's just understanding those differences between the people that you're talking to and the people that you generally are selling to, so that you can market and sell to them a little bit differently. In practice, what that kind of means is one, using a CRM and sort of like the tagging features or form features to assign contact types. So a lot of the time, like for example, if let's say we're running an ad campaign, someone lands on your site, they're filling out a form, having an option that just says, what best describes you. I'm a homeowner, I'm a contractor, I'm a builder, I'm a whatever, and just having them directly indicate who they are and maybe how you should be talking to them is super helpful. And it's a great way to just off rip be able to talk to them in the way that's going to be most effective. Because we won't know until we know. But yeah, then creating email flows tailored to each of those groups. So let's say in that same example, right? They've reached out, or rather they filled out a form, they've indicated that they're a homeowner. Great. So you're probably going to want to give them a lot more educational content. You're probably going to want to set up sort of more like design consultations or see if they're interested in a free design of their kit of their space. And just really um, hold their hand through the process and say, hey, here's exactly what we think you'll need, and we're happy to help. Um, then lastly, building website experiences that are best for those segments, right? So having an area that is directly for homeowners. Here is everything a homeowner is going to need on our website. You'd be surprised how many times, like actually on cabinet websites, that they're in the navigation, like for homeowners, for pros, because at the end of the day, you want to be as clear as possible and allow people to find the information, access it as easily as possible. So there's just a few of the ways that this segmentation can come up in practice, right? In your day to day for marketing and sales, but there are a million different things that this can impact. At the end of the day, again, it's like you have to understand one, what the ideal journey looks like in general, but two, um, for the different groups of people that you're doing business with, what do they need, and how can you best serve them? Then let's talk a little bit about personalization. So here, what I'm kind of referring to is you know, uh, goes back to some of the stuff that we were talking about with those different segments, right? Um, you have to understand your customer, right? And understand their needs, but then this is sort of like going the extra mile to work with them the best that you possibly can. So, for example, let's say that you've put together this like ad campaign. People are submitting a form, they're reaching out, but for some reason when you're calling them or emailing them, they're not really getting back to you. Well, Maybe that's because they actually prefer texting over those channels, or maybe it's because they actually they prefer morning phone calls as opposed to afternoon phone calls, and you've been getting back to them in the afternoon. It's little things like that, little nuances, and things that really make a big difference a lot of the time. Those kind of personalized experiences can have a huge impact on whether or not you actually close that deal. So um, it's something to consider when you are setting up ad campaigns, for example, right? So having a form field to say like when is the best time to get in touch with you, or what is your preferred method of contact, or things like that. Simple, but super impactful. And that's not to say that I'm recommending you guys put a ton of different fields in your forms and really bog down the experience and slow all that up by any means, because obviously the more fields you have, the less likely someone is to fill it out. But if it's if you're finding you're having issues one way or the other, I think that's when you maybe make some of those considerations. Um, or even if you just want to test it out in general and see if it has a positive impact, even if you're already doing great. I think it's just going that extra mile and making a big impact for folks. So some of the things to consider there in terms of personalization, things that you might want to know or get information on is what maybe products they've looked at, um, what forms on your site they've submitted, whether that's like free design request or they just want like some sort of general consultation on pricing or whatever that looks like, right? Um, how they prefer to communicate, like I said. So are they more email? Are they more phone? Are they more text? What time of day? Maybe get back to me in a couple weeks. Where are they in the journey exactly? So that goes back to kind of understanding. Okay, so what's the action that they've taken? Well, they've submitted a design request, or they've downloaded a catalog. Maybe they're in that um, uh, now I'm totally forgetting the word, that interest phase, right? So they're past awareness. They are really starting to actively um, try to analyze businesses and more particular products, but they're maybe not quite at that decision phase yet where they're ready to sign on the dotted line. And then lastly, notes from past conversations or appointments. So if this is a person that you've talked to in the past, having an understanding of how that business has gone or where you are in the customer journey exactly. Maybe they haven't closed just yet, and being able to see that stuff in a pinch is super helpful. So yeah, just a couple of tips on kind of um, not only understanding who you're talking to, um, and not even understanding how they want to be talked to, but then just going the extra mile and just really getting granular about, um, you know, how does Olivia Hall specifically, how does she want to operate? Because not everyone's the same, even in those, segmented buckets. All right. Now this sort of goes back to some of the things that I've already mentioned, but when you're looking at all of these different, um, you know, particular instances of a customer journey, it becomes really daunting to consider, writing individual emails or making individual phone calls to each and every person that's going to need a different way of operating, right? So that's where your automation comes in, and there are a ton of really easy flows that can be set up to just remove a ton of this busy work off of your sales team's plate, and help to kind of qualify leads, move them along in the journey, and get them to a closed deal. So, I'm not recommending that you sit there and do all this work to set up like this understanding of customer journeys and map all of it out and have all this understanding and then not be able to implement it. The way that you implement it a lot of the time is by automating it, right? Because at the end of the day, you're 9 times out of 10 not going to be able to do these 9 different ways of contacting people or working with people without automating it. So couple of you know automated campaigns that we're pretty consistently setting up that I wanted to call out here. or post quote follow-ups. So these are folks that maybe have either gotten a free design, but haven't taken the next step towards actually purchasing the products included in the design, or maybe they've gotten a full proposal or something on their project, and once again they're maybe dragging their feet or just haven't closed yet for whatever reason. Um, there's a bunch of ways that you could follow up with those folks on an automated basis, whether it's email, text, setting up call tasks for your sales team, whatever that looks like. Um, then there's design appointment reminders. So super simple one, but pretty important. If someone has booked a call with you, they're not always going to remember it immediately, even if it's on their calendar. So having just a couple of reminders, maybe like week of, day before, day of, like a couple hours before, whatever, is helpful. And sort of better ensures that that's not just going to be wasted time for you. Install day check-ins. So that's a good way to, especially for homeowners, like indicate that you really care about their project. Hey, I know, the team was in there today or finished up today. Just wanted to check in and make sure everything went okay. Are there any, issues or anything like that we can help you out with, or did everything go off without a hitch? If so, that's great. But doing that sort of stuff on an automated basis actually goes a long way, because once again, it's like, oh wow, okay, these guys actually care. Or even if it's not that, even if it's blatantly like an automated email, at least then they have the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, you know what, there was like a chipped, you know one of my cabinet doors was like chipped on the corner or something, and I want to see if I get it replaced, or one of the hinges is like sagging or something like that. Like, and some of that comes down to installation, but that's beside the point. The point is you're giving them that opportunity to communicate that feedback, which is important. um, Review requests, another one that's so important, but that just gets ignored all the time, and it's actually so easy. All you have to do is put together a a flow with some review request emails, communicating with your existing customers, and then blast it out to those customers. Um, you know, Having it even better, not having to manually import a list or whatever, and just having it automatically go like 2 days after a deal's been closed, or after an installation, the installation's been done and that's been marked somewhere. Why, it's a no-brainer. Why would you not want a review from someone who just finished a job and it's fresh on their mind and they're super stoked? Just makes sense. So those are a few of the examples of like follow-up, I'm sorry, of automations that um, you know can make a lot of sense for people once you understand your customer's journey. Um, you know, these are ways that you can implement, or that understanding, or better take advantage of that understanding, I guess I should say. Another thing that I wanted to point out here was upsell and cross sell opportunities, right? So this is, I think, only something that you can do effectively, at least when you have an understanding of that customer journey and what sorts of products and services people are going to be interested in. So uh, just I think the easiest way to discuss this is in the lens of homeowners once again. So if we're, let's say, um, doing a kitchen design, whatever, they're interested in XYZ shaker and color combo, and wow, this is looking great. But the way that the kitchen is, the layout is set up, and with the size of it, there may be like a little stretch for cabinet space. They're not sure if they're going to be able to fit everything. I don't know how this is going to work. Upsell some, like, organizers within the cabinets um, that might make sense for them, or upgrades. Maybe if like they're not liking the matte finish, they want the gloss, but the gloss is more expensive. Things like that. A lot of the time, yeah, these things can happen in the moment, but I think you can also, um, based on the information that you have of this particular customer, maybe we're calling it like enterprise homeowners versus base homeowners or something along those lines. You can automatically trigger some of these upsell opportunities to say, hey, for XYZ more, some of these premium finishes might look better in your kitchen. Or cross sell opportunities, right? So if someone is renovating their any part of their house. They're maybe doing it in stages, right? Like one room at a time, but could be a great opportunity for you to upsell to another room, right? So, oh, by the way, we also do bathroom design or bathroom cabinets and things like that, or closet cabinetry, or laundry cabinetry. So having those sorts of um, additional selling opportunities built into your process because you have this understanding of who your customers and potential customers are and how they operate and what makes most sense for them can be super effective. Just to give you maybe a real life example of um, from Kitchen 365, for example, for us, our kitchen design services sort of cross over a lot with some of our um, you know uh, website development and marketing services. So a lot of the businesses that get design services from us could probably really benefit from some of our like website development or marketing services. So um, considering that, we uh, try to build in some cross sell opportunities for those individuals. Just nothing crazy, but email notifications saying, "Hey, by the way, did you know we do this?" And I think it could be super helpful for you in your showroom. But having those like little upsell opportunities built into your process, having it automated can be super duper helpful and can be a real revenue driver. A couple of things I wanted to point out in terms of how to identify those opportunities, though. Tags in your CRM. So for us, for example, again, what that means is like um, marking the like vertical that they're currently working with us on, or showrooms versus distributors or whatever. Having an understanding again of who that is, but tagging it somewhere and having that information in a data bank. um, Purchase history, right? So again, if they've um, bought a kitchen from you guys already, could be a great opportunity to upsell, to or cross sell rather to a bathroom or another room, right? Um, let's see, different history on um, like project notes, right? So sorry, having specifics on how a project is progressing as it's happening. So, yes, we had a design consultation today. Customer was somewhat satisfied with Matt, but wants to look at other options. Maybe we can upsell to gloss, or maybe we can add these particular hardware options to make it pop a little bit more, whatever. But having that information available allows your customer success managers or sales team to then dive in on those upsell opportunities. Just flagging them in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, these are all things that are trackable, and if you're not already, that you should be tracking, and can really help to make a difference and grow some additional revenue from even an existing customer base. Now, what we've all been waiting for. How do you track it all, right? I've talked a lot about these amazing automated opportunities that can happen, these different, things that can and should be tagged somewhere in a data bank, um, these different processes that should be documented, all that good stuff. Um, but where the heck are we supposed to house all that information? Well, that's where a CRM comes in, right? So the way I put it is the CRM is sort of like the command center for all these activities as they relate to your customer's journey. It's how you track, where someone is, what's the latest update, how can we move this along, how can we make it faster, how can we make their lives easier. All of the things that we've talked about today, related to customer journey. This is where the magic happens, right? So it's the command center, it's the brain behind the operation. So you should, I think, most CRMs at a glance be able to look at the full customer journey. How many individuals do you have in each stage? In leads versus qualified leads versus opportunities versus one versus close, close one, close lost, all that good stuff. Being able to look at your pipeline at a glance, being able to track communication histories. What emails have they received? Have they shown interest and engaged with those emails? Um, Assigning follow-ups to your team, right? So yes, we have all these automated emails going out, but having sales team members actually pick up the phone and call them on a regular basis to check in as well. Once we know that they prefer morning phone calls, they can do that. Um, Triggering automations I've mentioned a bunch of times, but that's a big one. Um, and then tracking return on investment as well, right? So let's say you know that they came in from ad, or rather you just closed this huge deal. You have no idea where they came from. Well, your CRM would probably help with that. It could tell you, well, they originally came from an ad, then they converted on a free design request, then they ordered a sample, and so on and so forth. So I know there are a lot of businesses out there that are not tracking these things, or if they are, they're doing it really ineffectively and have sort of hobbled together solutions. But it's really, really, really important um, that you have this information documented and that you're tracking it somewhere. Because at the end of the day, if you're not, you're just losing out. You're losing out on a ton of opportunities. You might be crushing it and making a ton of money, but why would you not want to, one, make your life easier, and then two, be able to make a little more money, right? That's the idea here in terms of understanding customer journey and implementing it effectively. And at the end of the day, you need some place to do that and house all those things. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to be your CRM. So um, yeah, I mean, the motto that I usually use is, if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist, right? That's how you make it scalable, and really be able to take the most advantage of this whole customer journey conversation. But that is it, gang. That is really all I had for you today. I hope this was helpful. Once again, I think if you're not uh, rather, if you don't have an understanding of your customer's journey already, that's something that I'd love to help you out with. We work, at Kitchen 365 exclusively with kitchen and bath businesses, so we have a pretty good idea of how the average customer journey is looking and feeling these days. So, if that's something you're interested, please reach out. You can reach out on our website, or follow us on any of our socials. And yeah, in the meantime, if you found this helpful, great. Please try and keep some of these ideas in your back pocket. And with that said, I think we will talk again next time. All right, gang. Thanks. Bye bye.